The abandoned mega project that cost billions and was never used.
This is actually the first tunnel ever built. Like the two others, it spans the entire width of the Colossal Mountains.
$1 billion gone. Concrete giant standing tall with no purpose. Empty halls, silent tunnels, grand openings that never happened. These were meant to change cities, even nations. But instead, they become forgotten relics of ambition gone wrong. So how does something so big, so expensive, end up being completely useless? Some were built in remote places no one could reach. Others collapsed under the weight of politics, protest, or just poor planning. What they all have in common is this: big dreams, massive price tags, and almost nothing to show for it. Interstate H3, Hawaii's road to nowhere. Interstate H3 is one of those mega projects that had all the makings of something great, on paper at least. I mean, it was built through the stunning mountains and lush valleys of Oahu, Hawaii. Just imagine driving through those scenic landscapes with the ocean on one side and green cliffs on the other. Sounds dreamy, right? The whole idea was to create a super efficient military route connecting the Marine Corps base in Kananaohe to the Pearl Harbor Naval Base. Back in the Cold War days, the U.S. government wanted troops and supplies to be able to move quickly in case things escalated. So, on the surface it made sense: fast, secure, and strategic. But here's where things started going sideways. From the very beginning, the project was met with heavy opposition. Environmentalists and native Hawaiian communities weren't having it. They raised their voices against the construction, and honestly, they had solid reasons. The planned route cut straight through Halawa Valley, a place rich in cultural and historical significance. We're talking about sacred sites, ancient burial grounds, and a fragile ecosystem. Paving over something so meaningful to build a highway didn't sit right with a lot of people. Protests, lawsuits, and heated public debates followed the project for decades.
Town-bound and Kailua-bound, the H3 Harano tunnels opened on December 12, 1997.
Despite all that resistance, the government pushed forward. And as you can probably guess, it didn't go smoothly. The construction was a logistical nightmare. Workers had to drill and blast through massive mountains, build multiple tunnels, and construct giant bridges to hold the highway up. It dragged on for years. No, scratch that, decades. By the time the highway was finally completed in 1997, a whopping 37 years had passed since it was first proposed. And it came with a jaw-dropping price tag, $1.3 billion. That's billion with a B. But here's the kicker. After all that time, money, and effort, the highway didn't even live up to its promise. Traffic was way lighter than expected. The military didn't need it as much as originally thought, and many locals avoided it altogether, either out of principle or simply because it wasn't the most convenient route for them. So now, H3 sits there, beautifully built, with wide lanes and stunning views, but often half empty. It's a daily reminder of what happens when ambition outpaces thoughtful planning. Raigon Hotel, North Korea's 105-story ghost. The Raigon Hotel in Pyongyang is one of the most bizarre and fascinating buildings in the world, and not for the reasons you'd expect. Picture this: a massive 105-story pyramid-shaped skyscraper towering over the North Korean capital. Over 3,000 rooms, sleek angles, and a rotating restaurant planned for the very top. On the surface, it sounds like something pulled straight out of a sci-fi movie. You'd think it would be full of tourists, glowing lights, maybe in a luxury spa or two. But instead, it's empty. Always has been. Back in 1987, the North Korean government launched this project with big dreams. They wanted the Raigon Hotel to show the world that North Korea was modern, powerful, and capable of architectural feats that could rival the West. It wasn't just going to be a hotel. It was meant to be a symbol, a giant one, visible from just about anywhere in Pyongyang. The plan was bold, no doubt. If it had been finished on time, it would have been the tallest hotel in the world. But things didn't go according to plan. By the early 1990s, the country was in serious financial trouble. The Soviet Union had collapsed, North Korea's economy was suffering, and the government simply couldn't afford to keep pouring money into this towering structure. So, in 1992, construction just stopped. No announcement, no ceremony, no explanation to the outside world. just an enormous concrete shell sitting abandoned for years. It was so tall and so obvious that it couldn't be hidden or ignored. People started calling it the Hotel of Doom.
To the so-called Hotel of Doom.
Years later, there were a few attempts to revive it. A foreign company even stepped in during the late 2000s and helped install a glass facade to cover the bare concrete exterior. From a distance, it finally started to look finished. Shiny, futuristic, even kind of impressive. But that was just the outside. Inside, the hotel remained unfinished and completely empty. No working elevators, no lobby, no guest. Just hollow floors and a gleaming shell. Yucca Mountain, America's billion-dollar nuclear tomb. Yucca Mountain was supposed to be the answer to one of America's biggest and most dangerous problems. What to do with all that nuclear waste? For decades, the U.S. had been generating tons of radioactive material from power plants and weapons programs, and there was no permanent place to put it. It was piling up in temporary storage sites all over the country, and that wasn't exactly a long-term solution. So the idea came up, why not just bury it deep inside a mountain in the middle of the desert? Remote, isolated, and geologically stable, Yucca Mountain in Nevada seemed perfect.
About 100 miles outside Las Vegas, deep in this remote patch of desert, there's a $19 billion hole in the ground.
The plan sounded simple enough. Build deep underground tunnels, transport all the nuclear waste there, and store it safely away from people and the environment for thousands of years. Scientists and engineers said the site could potentially hold over 70,000 metric tons of waste. It was ambitious, sure, but also necessary. So the government moved forward. Billions of dollars were poured into research, testing, planning, and early construction. Roads were built, equipment was moved in, tunnels were dug. Everything was being lined up to finally put an end to the nation's growing nuclear waste dilemma. But not everyone was on board. The project faced intense backlash almost immediately. People who lived nearby in Nevada wanted no part of it. Environmental groups raised alarms about potential contamination of groundwater, accidents during transportation, and the sheer unpredictability of storing something that dangerous for thousands of years. Native American tribes, whose ancestral lands included parts of the site, also stepped in to voice their strong opposition. They argued that the land was sacred, and that dumping nuclear waste there was a huge violation of their rights and heritage.
The escalators are covered with sheets, the elevators aren't even working, and it is virtually deserted, a ghost mall.
New South China Mall, the world's emptiest mall. The New South China Mall in Duangan was built to be the ultimate shopping paradise. We're talking 7.1 million square feet of pure ambition, bigger than any mall in the world. It had everything you could dream of, a replica of the Eiffel Tower, canals like Venice, and even Egyptian-style sphinxes. The design was wild and extravagant, aiming to transport visitors around the globe without ever leaving China. It was supposed to attract thousands of shoppers and become a symbol of China's booming consumer economy. But there was one big problem: location. They built the mall in an area far from any major city, with no real public transportation and barely any foot traffic. So, when it opened with great fanfare in 2005, things didn't go as planned. Almost 90% of the stores stayed empty. There were grand hallways, shiny storefronts, and indoor theme park rides, but barely any people. Over the years, developers tried to revive it by converting parts of it into entertainment zones, but it never really caught on. Walking through it feels surreal, like a high-end ghost town. It's a strange mix of luxury and silence, a reminder that even the biggest dreams can fall flat without the right foundation. City of Culture, Spain's futuristic culture trap. The City of Culture in Santiago de Compostela, Spain, was supposed to be a bold tribute to the region's identity, a mix of art, history, and modern design, all rolled into one massive cultural complex. Designed by American architect Peter Eisenman, it featured 6 futuristic buildings with curved glass facades, steel frameworks, and flowing wave-like rooftops. It honestly looked like something out of a sci-fi movie. The idea was to create a space where culture, creativity, and community could come together in one iconic location. But not everyone was thrilled. A lot of locals questioned whether such a huge and expensive project was really necessary. Many felt disconnected from it, saying it didn't reflect the culture it was meant to celebrate. And as the project dragged on, things only got messier. Construction costs spiraled out of control, deadlines kept getting pushed back, and criticism started pouring in. What was once a symbol of pride slowly begin to look like a vanity project. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.